The American dream ain't real, never was. It's a bedtime story they tell the poor so we don't wake up and burn the whole system down. Work hard, play by the rules, and you'll make it. Yeah? Then why are millions of us barely scraping by while billionaires hoard enough money to end poverty 100 times over? They tell us it's about effort, that if you're struggling, it's your fault. Not the rigged economy, not the landlords jacking up rent 150% since the 90s.
Hello, brothers and sisters, and welcome back to this episode. I hope you're doing well wherever you are. Today, I need us to talk about something that many people around the world still believe in: the American dream. For so long, America was advertised as a land full of opportunity, where those who put in the effort, obeyed the law, and put their mind to it could make something out of themselves and provide wealth for their family. Today, many Americans are losing faith in the existence of the dream, as millions are now concerned with surviving instead of trying to live out their dreams. With the rising cost of rent, food, healthcare, and the surmountable student loan debt, many Americans feel like they are treading water on an endless treadmill. Even if you have 2 to 3 jobs, you will still struggle to pay at the end of the month. To add to the frustration, the cost of living continues to escalate while the wages of many working-class Americans continue to stagnate with the inflation rate. Let's first watch these clips, and I'll be back.
The American dream. What is that? Whatever. That's it. That's the American dream.
Yo, I hope y'all know the American dream is dead. Like, you're not gonna have a good life just off the virtue of being American or living in America anymore. Like, those days are gone. Yes, 20, 30, 40 years ago, people were coming from all around the world to America for a better life, and they found that a lot of the times. But that's not the case no more. We live in a globalized world. Like, things are not the same. The effort that it took to live a fairly good life in terms of just working or building your own business, that effort now is just going to get you by barely. And I hope people are starting to realize this and look elsewhere and cast your net further overseas, network, and meet people in different companies overseas to where you can improve your, not just your financial position, but your other aspects of life. Like, it's time to get creative in 2025, for real.
772,000. That's not a typo. That's how many folks are currently living on the streets in the so-called richest country in the world. And y'all want us to believe this is just the system working? Nah, the system is broken, and broke again. Let's break it down. Homelessness just hit a record high in the U.S. That's an 18% spike from last year alone. And family homelessness up 39%. Families, not just individuals. Moms, dads, kids sleeping in cars, on benches, under bridges. What's causing it? Sky-high rent, stagnant wages. Then you got post-COVID economic chokeholds. And a government that got no problem spending billions overseas but freezes up when it's time to house its own people. And don't get it twisted. This ain't just a bad economy issue. This is a policy failure. No cap. There are more empty homes in America than homeless people. Let that sink in. But instead of tackling housing reform or raising the minimum wage, we're watching politicians bicker like it's a Twitter beef while folks are freezing in tents. This ain't the American dream. This is an American eviction notice. And the wildest part, the media will run this headline and keep it pushing. No national emergency, no federal task force, just another day in the land of get yours or die trying. We need rent control, mental health support, jobs that pay a livable wage, and leaders who actually give a damn. Because homelessness isn't a crime, but letting this continue should be. Follow your boy Crypto Black. See you next time.
The American dream ain't real, never was. It's a bedtime story they tell the poor so we don't wake up and burn the whole system down. Work hard, play by the rules, and you'll make it. Yeah? Then why are millions of us barely scraping by while billionaires hoard enough money to end poverty 100 times over? They tell us it's about effort, that if you're struggling, it's your fault. Not the rigged economy, not the landlords jacking up rent 150% since the 90s, not the fact that minimum wage hasn't kept up with inflation since the 60s, and not the fact that half of us don't have $500 for an emergency while CEOs make that in a second. Nah, it's you. You just didn't try hard enough. I say bullshit. They say go to college, but a degree don't mean nothing when you're drowning in debt you'll never pay off. Student loans in this country total $1.7 trillion. And who profits? The same banks that needed bailouts while we all lost our homes in '08. The same politicians that send their kids to Ivy League schools with no debt, no struggle, and no worries. It was never about giving us a future. It was about trapping us. They say, buy a house. With what? Wages ain't moved in decades. Rent so high, can't even save. The average home price is 5 times what it was in the 80s, and they want to tell us it's just inflation? No, it's greed. It's billionaires and banks buying up homes, turning neighborhoods into playgrounds for the rich, pushing working people into the dirt. They say just get a good job. Where? Factory jobs are all gone. Retail jobs can barely pay rent. Healthcare costs can wipe out your whole life savings overnight. They say the economy is booming. But for who? Because it ain't the single mom working 2 jobs just to keep the lights on. It ain't the guy breaking his back in a warehouse with no benefits. And it sure as hell ain't the millions working harder than ever just to stay broke. And then they tell us, well, at least you have freedom. Freedom to what? To die because we can't afford insulin? To work ourselves to death while billionaires ride rockets to space? To choose between rent and food? That ain't freedom. That's a death sentence. The truth is, the American dream is a leash, a scam, a fantasy to keep us obedient, to keep us blaming ourselves instead of the real enemy, the ones who rigged the game in the first place, and they will keep us chasing that lie until the day we die, unless we finally say enough. We don't need to work harder. We don't need to suffer more. We need to take back what's ours. We built this country. We keep it running, and we're the ones struggling? Nah, not anymore. The dream is dead. Time to build something real.
You want to know what the difference is between the people who are able to leave the U.S. and thrive abroad and those who are not? It's who is willing to let go of the American dream. Now, I know logically we get that, right? A lot of us are coming to increasing awareness of the scam of the American dream. It's disappointing. It hurts, right? Because most of us grew up aspiring to the American dream and we never questioned it. And I think that's why it's so hard to let go of. And for those of you who want to leave the U.S. and move abroad, I want you to challenge some of the questions and concerns that you have that are limiting you and keeping you from pursuing this path. We have to recognize that the American dream is not just a slogan. The American dream is something that we have been indoctrinated with for centuries, to the point that we have never questioned what it really is. We have only challenged ourselves or critiqued ourselves based on whether we could achieve it or not. Those are two very different things, and we're in a different space in American history right now, where we as a people are starting to make choices for ourselves and not be guided and our outcomes dictated by this system that has defined what happiness and success is for us.
Now, after watching these clips, I need you to consider this. Across the US, many cities have rents that take more than half of the person's monthly income. These has led young people to delay marriage, having children, and even moving out of their parents' homes because of the high expense of living on their own. For older generations, part of the definition of the American dream was being able to buy a house, raise a family, and retire comfortably after they've done their work for years. For many millennials and even many members of the Gen Z, the concept of the American dream seems unattainable. Many millennials can't afford to buy a home today because housing prices have skyrocketed. Student loan debt has also left a generation financially strapped before a chance to create wealth can be made available to them. They will continue to carry substantial debt until after their children have matured into adulthood safely, following years and years of living below poverty line wages. Only think about healthcare. In the US, being ill could literally cause financial devastation to a family. Medical expenses are among the top reasons Americans go bankrupt. Can you imagine working hard your entire life and doing everything correctly, only to have to lose everything to a health crisis? Because of this, many today are saying that the American dream no longer works. However, we need more than that to ask. Today, who really benefits from the American dream? While many Americans struggle to make ends meet, meanwhile, corporate profits are rising, as is the number of billionaires, and widening the wealth gap. For many, especially African Americans, the American dream has always been a complicated dream. There have always been systemic barriers and discrimination that make achieving that dream significantly more difficult than for any other group. There are many, not just African Americans, from various racial backgrounds now recognize that the system isn't producing what many have been told they would produce. Awareness is a necessary prerequisite for effecting any change. The moment people ask questions and demand things like reasonable wages, decent cost of living, equity in opportunity, equal access, and economic equality, that is when the dialogue begins to happen. The potential success of the American dream is now more uncertain than ever. Consequently, it will be determined by the ability of common people to reshape it, so there is an equal and positive experience for all as it did in the past. I want to hear from you. And by the way, do you believe the American dream is dead versus changing? If you like this video, kindly provide a comment, subscribe to the channel, and share this video on your social network to bring as much information to the table as everyone as possible. This is Kelly Real Talks, and thanks for watching this video, and I'll appreciate if you subscribe, comment, like, and give this video a thumbs up. Until next time, see you in the next episode. Peace.